So we have 3 minutes even. It's enough to make a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, drink them all.
Is that what you would like?
Well, I like an affogato, please, with dark chocolate ice cream. If it's not too hard.
You have to close your eyes when you open the lid and you take a sip. You close your eyes and you think of that taste, and that's what we're reading.
All right.
You're sipping water.
No, he's sipping an affogato.
Oh,
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Close your eyes.
What is affogato?
It can be anything you want it to be. This is on Sunday. Wish for anything you like.
I've seen it over this, but I have no idea what it is.
How many people do we have at the Gompa for Geshe-la's teaching? About 15? 14?
on the Zoom. I don't
No,
know.
the Gompa itself. We had like 14 today, or
Today,
10?
Today, 1,
9.
1,
Today.
2,
9.
Normally 10.
10.
Tanya would have joined from her room.
All right. Yeah, about 10. 10 at the Gompa.
10 in the Gompa.
9.
But yeah.
All practicing social isolation.
Oh, and Nicola wasn't.
We're not even talking to each
There
other.
was 9 in the golfer.
We're not even staring each other down.
No, we're doing the socialisation thing, which we've been doing for 6 weeks.
Is it 6 weeks?
At least, because we started on the 20. No, we started the week before. We started with the 14th, 15th of March.
Don't know.
7 weeks.
What's that going to do that?
Now I'm going here.
She's not going to drop it if it's on the shoulder.
Oh, actually, I was going to give her, she was coming, and I was going to give her the feet. She's not
She's
here.
gone off for a bit of time.
No, Helen was.
Maybe she is traveling to the physio.
She changed her mind. I have no idea. They've got my characters.
She missed it. Is
Oh,
that
she's-
from you or is that from the banner? Banner.
That'll be from the banner.
Okay.
Yeah, they come on. Some of them got really young one time. Not the last time I was overcame. One of the ones. She did more. When I- Oh, I've got a minute. One more minute.
The clock is ticking.
Clock is
In the red zone now.
Yes.
no, so we've got a previous one.
So I'll put so are we doing the Heart Sutra?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll put it on the screen.
Oh my God, that's wrong. You have to say,
Okay.
your questions have to be like a tweet.
No, actually, it's
It's better probably with more information. Sometimes you look at it and go, that's a really loose question.
challenged with that chat thing of scroll.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this computer is pretty
Ask that could be.
channel. Yeah, this computer just kind of does my heading.
I guess I'm used to just going like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that.
Well, I guess that normal people use Mac. I don't know.
I use them,
And we're at 3.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
but we're waiting for it.
All right, let's do the Heart Sutra, everyone. I'll scroll it back to the beginning. All right, so it's page 3 in a prayer book. Aya Triple Gem. Thus did here at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on the Master Marshal's mountain together with a great community of monks and a great community of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the one was called profound. Also at that time, looked upon the very practice of the perfection of wisdom and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokitesvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that in the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokitesvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as an empty inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition of factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristics, produced, unceased, stainless, not without stains, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition of factors, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance and so on up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattva rely on the dwelling perfection of wisdom. The mind without obscuration and without fear, having completely passed beyond error to reach the end point of Nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in 3 times also manifestly completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of the great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata gate gai, paragate parasamgate bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then Bhagavan arose from that concentration, commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokitesvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas rejoice. When the Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, Mahasattva Arya Avalokitesvara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the worlds of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Chodan Tsoki Chonam La, Chancho Badu Lani Kyapsuchi, Dagi Chishegi Betsonan, Dola Benje Sangye Dopajo. Chodan Tsoki Chonam La, Chancho Badu Dani Kyapsuchi, Dagi Chishegi Betsonangi, Dola Benje Sangye Dopajo. Chodan Tsoki Chonam La, Chancho Badu Dani Kyapsuchi, Dagi Chishegi Betsonangi, Dola Benji Sangye Dopas. Okay. So, how's everybody doing?
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
that's good.
Thanks. Yeah.
Good. That's very nice. So, what should we do today? First of all, I wanted to refer to a point that came up in yesterday's session. So the 4 retinues of Buddha. Remember, being born in a central land is one of the opportunities pertaining to oneself. Also, we have freedom from being born in a borderland, which is the opposite of that, a land in which the 4 retinues of a Buddha are absent. So we had a discussion yesterday about what those 4 retinues are, and Tupten pointed out that she thought that the 4 retinues are the 2 male and female approacher of virtue and 2 monastics. So she was right. No, I made a mistake. So the 4 retinues are, again, male and female, not only householder or lay practitioners. They are said to be those who approach virtue, which assuming that they possess the vow of approaching virtue, the refuge vow. So that's Those are the first two. Then two ordained one. Now, the way that it is sometimes expressed in Tibetan is two fully ordained one, gelongs and gelongma. However, sometimes gelong and gelongma in certain contexts refer to monastics in general. So whether you have to take them strictly speaking as fully ordained, or maybe this is just a code name for monastics, I'm not completely sure. Now, sometimes when you, yeah, generally fully ordained, you say, okay. Because, sometimes when you read sutras, the Buddha, the followers of the Buddha are called the hearers. Then hearers we take normally to be Hinayana practitioners or Shravakas, but they're called in a particular way hearers just in a general way to denote that they are followers of the Buddha. And sometimes when he addresses them, he says bhikshus, and I always wonder if he refers only to those who are fully ordained or whether he includes within that also novices. I don't know, I'm not sure. But anyway, I think that we managed to at least get the approacher of virtue, lay practitioners also into the four lineages. So we've accomplished something today. So that's point number one that I wanted to mention today. Point number two was, do you remember that we had a discussion yesterday about what the meaning is of pure ethical discipline? Pure ethical discipline being one of the causes for a human body with freedoms and opportunities. So we have, it seems that although the text mentioned what pure ethical discipline is, I can't recall having a detailed explanation in scripture that says that these are the criteria for perfect ethical discipline or pure ethical discipline. And if you don't have this criteria, your ethical discipline is not perfect or not pure. I think that the term itself suggests pure, in some sense, it can, just the word itself can, I think, create a certain understanding of what it means, but it seems that we haven't come across a really hardcore definition of what it is. So we have different positions. Also, we can pull out different sources, different points from different texts in order to build our understanding of what it is. So if you remember yesterday in Geshe-la's session, he said that he thought that you have, you need to, first of all, as a basic rule, basic ethics, to abstain from the 10 non-virtues. This is not given as a separate vow. It is something that is the basic, or something that is included within any other vow that we take within the Pratimoksha level. So Geshe-la reckons that you can guard, that was Geshe Tsultrim, you can guard the ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtue. But then for it to become perfect, it's not enough. You also need to have committed yourself to do that through a vow. And obviously speaking, I think that just from the term pure, you also need to guard the vow, right? So it's not only having the vow, you also need to guard the vow and to do it well. So that's Geshe Tsultrim's position. Now, I asked Geshe Jameng about his position, and he was in the opinion that you don't need a vow in order to have pure ethical discipline. He said that his rationale behind that was that pure ethical discipline is something that you need to guard regardless of whether you have a vow or not, regardless of whether you're a monastic or not, regardless of whether you're Buddhist or not. He said that when you look at those 10 non-virtues, many of them pertain to rules that we follow, codes of conduct that we follow in our human society. And also from a legislation point of view, many of the things would be deemed to be illegal actions because they are negative by nature. So negative by nature is like killing and stealing and sexual misconduct, and I guess that harsh speech or idle talk in terms of harsh speech or divisive speech in terms of defamation or bringing, creating problems in society. So I guess that in many different ways, just things can not only be called naturally negative, but also deemed in a legal system to be as such.
So in the legal system, it wouldn't be deemed having non-virtuous thoughts.
Yeah.
So the mind
Yeah.
might not be
Yeah. Yeah. So Venerable Chuki said that, in the legal system, having that, non-virtues of mind. Sorry?
premeditated.
Yeah.
During the action.
Yeah.
Premeditated is thinking about before you do.
So Chuki pointed out that, of course, according to a legal system, we don't have no thoughts police yet. No, we are not going to be convicted for having covetousness or ill will.
No, even people write about it in their diary.
Yeah.
It can't be.
Yeah, even people that write about it in the diary. So the way that Geshe, indeed, this is also kind of a thought that came up to me when I was listening to Geshe Jamin's explanation. He said that the 10 non-virtues will be considered negative by nature. But I said, thought to myself, let's look at wrong views. A wrong view, denying, for example, the working of karma actions and the results. Would it be considered to be negative by nature? I mean, I guess that you can debate it either way, but not all of them are judged as negative of course, in a legal system. But anyway, the main point that Geshe Jamin was making was that it was in the opinion that to have pure ethical discipline, you don't necessarily have to have a vow. You need to at least guard the ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtues. So I think that, we have two positions, and I think that we don't need to be rigid in choosing a position kind of to take Geshe Tsultrim's position because he's the teacher here, or to take Geshe Jamin's position because we like Geshe Jamin more. That's not the criteria for.
Or because he gives a bit more leeway.
Yeah, or because he gives more leeway. It's more like kind of, you have those positions, it gives you something to think about. And then you can also, you can think of how does it apply to me, and to what degree will I try my best to protect my ethical discipline.
Well, I mean, and I think that is, you've got to look at the context in which this whole discussion started out in. And that was in relation to a precious human rebirth. And the precious human rebirth is something that has the freedoms and endowments, the respites and opportunities, whatever language words you want to use for them. And I think what makes a precious human rebirth quite unique in this sense is that it is assumed that you are a Buddhist, a practicing Buddhist working towards enlightenment. That's what makes it precious. You can have a human rebirth, but a precious human rebirth is something that is from our point of view, is more important because more beneficial, because we can benefit others because we are Buddhists and we are Mahayana, and we have the great scope motivation. So, you can follow the 10 non-virtues and be a non-Buddhist and still have a human rebirth, and maybe even still find a positive human rebirth. But that doesn't make it precious in the context of being a Buddhist and practicing with a Mahayana motivation. So, to me, it's all within that context. So both Geshe Jamin and Geshe Tsultrim are right.
Yeah, as I said, kind of look at it and see which one makes sense to you, and also kind of gives you more to think about. I think that also one thing to keep in mind is that we call it precious human rebirth, and it makes it sound as if you are born into a certain situation, you have those 10 freedoms and endowments, and if you are not born into that situation, you don't have them. But look at our situation, for example, looking at the 10 opportunities pertaining to ourselves. Those of us that were not born into a Buddhist culture or Buddhist tradition. I was born in Israel, for example. So I didn't have of the 5 opportunities pertaining to oneself, I didn't have faith in the teachings of the Buddha. I didn't have faith in the teachings in the 3 baskets, but at some point in time, so I didn't have a precious human rebirth, you might say, with freedoms and opportunities, but I've changed my situation. So it's like the optimal, so you have a certain optimal scenario, which makes it the most favorable scenario for training your mind. But it's not that only if you're born with that, you have a chance. You can still change your situation, and you can also make sure that you become endowed with all the favorable conditions. It's like, I think of, for example, living at the borderland or living versus living in a central area. You have places, for example, that not only Buddhism is not practiced, but in some places it's illegal. Imagine, for example, there's a monk at Nalanda Monastery in France, is a monk coming from an Egyptian background. It is dangerous for him to be a monk in Egypt. He cannot be a monk in Egypt. So in that sense, you can say that he can change his situation, and now he lives at a place where he has those favorable conditions. So those freedoms and opportunities can change, and our goal is to make sure that, first of all, we become endowed with them, but also that we appreciate the importance of them, so that we make a great effort. So there are a couple of questions here. So
The one from Jane.
yeah. So there's one from Jane. So maybe I'll just come. Yeah. So Jane, I'll come back to your question in 2 or 3 minutes. Remind me if I don't, or in a few minutes, so that your question is not forgotten. I just wanted maybe to conclude this topic. So Graham, also going to look at your question in a second. So Matt says, was Geshe Jamming saying we can have precious human rebirth or simple human rebirth by following ethics without vows? So Geshe Jamming was saying that for a precious human rebirth, you need to have those 3 causes. You need to have created the 3 causes. So it's not just a mere rebirth as a human being. It is for a precious human rebirth with freedoms and opportunities. So for that, he was in the opinion that you don't necessarily need to have taken a vow before. If you got pure ethical discipline that abstains from the 10 non-virtues, and you have supplemented that with the practice of the 6 perfections, such as generosity, and at the end of your life, sorry?
And you have supplemented that.
Yeah, at the end of your life with making stainless aspirations.
No.
Yeah.
You said you added that, not just having abstained from ethical discipline.
Oh yeah, that's the very basis. Yeah, because in all of our presentation, they said that the causes for bringing about a precious human rebirth with freedoms and opportunities is not only having got a pure ethic, it's also supplemented then with the practice of the 6 perfections, such as generosity, and connecting it up with stainless aspirational prayers at the end. So it's not only perfect ethical discipline or pure ethical discipline. So Graham, I'll answer you in a second, because there is also another source that I wanted to pull into that. Is it this? No, it's not this. Maybe it is. All right, yeah. So I was looking for another thing with respect to pure ethics. So in Lama Tsongkhapa's Lama Rinpoche in the first volume, so the first volume covers the steps of the path common to the small scope and then the medium scope. So when you study the medium scope, at some point you cover the nature of the 3 trainings, and the first training is the training in ethical discipline, in ethics. So in Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation of ethics in page 347, he quotes different sources for saying that ethical discipline is also needed for the practice of Tantra. And then it says, further, with regards to keeping a pure ethical discipline in this way, Nusurwa said, right now, only this internal struggle with the afflictions is important. If you do not struggle with the afflictions, you will not activate you will not achieve, a pure ethical discipline, in which case you'll not attain the concentration and wisdom that respectively suppress and uproot the afflictions. Hence, the Buddha says you will have to wander continually through cyclic existence. Therefore, as I explained before, once you have identified the afflictions, reflected on the faults and the benefits of separating from them, and planted the spice of mindfulness and alertness, you must repeatedly fend off whatever affliction rises, whenever or whatever affliction rises its head. Further, you must see any affliction as an enemy and attack it as soon as it arises in your mind. Otherwise, if you acquiesce when it first appears, and then nurture it with improper thoughts, you'll have no way to defend it, and it will. My eyesight is not good today, so you have no way to defeat it, and it will conquer you in the end. Even if you fail to arrest the afflictions through such effort, you must not follow them. You must not allow them to linger. You must immediately disperse them. Anyway, no, it's all right. Thank you. So the point that Lama Tsongkhapa is making here with respect to pure ethics in quoting Neswa Sos is that without fending off the afflictions as soon as they arise, you'll not be able to have pure ethical discipline. So it's part of it. So when we think of, for example, guarding our vows, guarding our ethical discipline, the first one is avoiding killing, then avoiding stealing. So, I might have this wish to, take what was not given to me, and I will let it dwell in my mind for half an hour. And at the end, just before the action, I will think, this is not all right for me to do that. I'm a monk. I shouldn't do that. But I've already let that thought linger for half an hour in my mind stream. So if I let that thought linger for half an hour, it means that my ethics is not pure, because the indication here is that you have to identify the afflictions as soon as they arise and then fend them off. So in order to purify your ethics, you need to be on guard. You need to have mindfulness. You need to have alertness to identify the afflictions and then antidote them as soon as they arise. So it's not simply avoiding negative actions, it's also being vigilant. It seems that this is what Lama Tsongkhapa is saying.
All of that takes time.
Yeah.
I know, I've been so enjoying this because it reminds me to when I first heard it back, a few decades ago, and just how inspired I was back then, and how that began my whole journey of, a friend and I, we would spend months just looking at, going through the virtues, and one week we would look at this one, and we would spend the whole week looking at, oh my gosh, I did it then and I did it, it takes many years to get to the point that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It takes many years to get to the end. And even now, I might be quicker 50% of the time. But I still, I'm certainly better than what I was when I first started, absolutely. But, it's...
I think that, as I said before, sometimes it seems that we're doing even worse than before. I had a friend in India. She was a nun, then she disrobed, but she said that she was a much nicer person before becoming a nun. She said that. And I think that's kind of after some time, she said that actually, it's not like that she was a nicer person. It's more like all of a sudden she started to recognize her own faults or her own shortcomings. So normally we don't really recognize them. We think that actually things are going well. I'm a positive person. I'm a happy person. But then when you start to pay attention to your mind and you see how much crap there is in your mind, it seems that actually you're going from bad to worse. But I think that this is part of it. Anyway, so before I answer Graham's question, I don't want to know, since Jane was first to send the question, let's go to Jane's question. In the analogy of the wish-fulfilling tree, described as bodhicitta having an inexhaustible effect and magnification, how does this inexhaustible effect continue for different practitioners of different scopes? Like, for example, in the lower scope, once this practitioner has achieved a high rebirth as a human being or God, would bodhicitta not cease then? How does it arise again in the future? Does it stay on the mind stream? So the way that it is explained is in terms of one's motivation. So it says that you have a certain motivation. Motivated, so let's say that this is a virtuous motivation. You perform an action on that basis. And when the action will come when the result of that action will come to completion in the way that accords with your motivation, then it will be exhausted. So in that sense, if you think of, for example, if you're a genuine small scope practitioner, I mean, you're just practicing the small scope. I don't know if there's anyone that is doing that. Probably not, but let's say that someone that only wants to avoid a miserable rebirth, and they still want to be born in samsara as a human being. I mean, when I said that I don't know if anyone is doing that, I'm looking at that from the point of view of the Lamrim tradition. If you're a Lamrim practitioner, would you be a genuine small scope practitioner? Probably not, but anyway, let's say that you're a genuine small scope practitioner. You think that your goal is to attain a higher status rebirth in your next life. That's it. Not further than that. So you think that for that sake, I will guard ethical discipline, pure ethical discipline. So that was your initial motivation, guarding your pure ethical discipline, that attitude of abstention, that is the nature of ethics, was brought to culmination. You have planted a karmic seed in your mind stream. When that is activated towards the end of your life, either this life or another lifetime in the future, and that particular karmic seed is activated and you have taken a birth, then the part of the seed that had the potential to bring about a high status rebirth is exhausted and it will not be activated again. So first of all, keep in mind that when you create a certain cause, it has a few effects, not only one effect, but a few effects. So for example, when you look at different types of effects, you have effects in terms of the rebirth that you take. That's called a ripening effect, or effect of maturation. There is an environmental effect in terms of the environment that you're born with. There is also an effect that is similar to the cause in terms of your experience, and then in terms of your behavior, in terms of what you're familiar yourself with. So for example, you might kill another. So the causally concordant effect of killing another living being is to experience a life in which you're harmed by others, or you get sick, or you experience different calamities. That's a causally concordant effect in terms of your experience. In terms of your behavior, the causally concordant effect is you become more familiar with killing, so you're more prone to killing in the future. So I'm saying that because you performed a certain action with a certain motivation. You have taken a rebirth on that basis. So the aspect of maturation has ceased. It doesn't mean that the other aspects of fruition are also exhausted, because you're still going to have the causally concordant effect that could take place. You'll still have the causally concordant effect in terms of your environment that might take effect, right? So there are different aspects to the results. But then it might be that your motivation was not just to attain a precious rebirth or a high status rebirth. Your motivation was to attain the state of liberation. So you thought that I need to attain the state of liberation. For that end, I will guard ethics. So for that end, I will protect the life of others. I will practice generosity. Your motivation in practicing generosity was to attain the state of liberation. So from generosity come resources. The effect of generosity is resources. So you will, on that basis, in cyclic existence, experience resources, not necessarily only once. You could experience resources, if you're a great benefactor, you could experience resources in different occasions in your life, maybe even over a succession of lifetimes. But since your initial intention was to give with the thought of, on that basis, to attain the state of liberation, the result of your giving will not become exhausted until you attain the result, which is a state of liberation. Now, with bodhicitta, let's say you give. So you think that in order to attain the state of enlightenment, for the sake of all sentient beings, I will give, I will be generous. The effect of that virtuous state of mind, bodhicitta, will not exhaust until you attain the state of enlightenment, which is the result. And for that long, you will still continue to experience the result of generosity. So basically, it's commensurate, or it accords with your initial motivation. In Chandrakirti's supplement to the Middle Way, he started the text by saying homage to compassion, which is important at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. Right? So there's a great discussion in Lama Tsongkhapa's Illumination of the Thought, discussing the reason why Chandrakirti, to begin with, paid homage to great compassion. He said that great compassion is important at the beginning because this is the cause for bodhicitta. This is the cause for bodhisattvas. It is important in the middle because through compassion, they continue to act for the sake of others, or to progress along the steps of the path. It's important at the end because also once they become Buddhas, they still continue to enjoy the result of compassion, which is to work for the sake of sentient beings. Had Buddhas not had compassion, they would not bring forth their enlightened activities. They would not enact their enlightened activities for the sake of others. So the way that it is explained in those texts is that the Buddhas working for the sake of others is the result of their compassionate intention. Now, the activities that they perform are a result of compassion. So then, because this is the motivation that they had to begin with, to be of benefit to all sentient beings, even once they attain the state of enlightenment, they still continue to do that because a result is not exhausted, because the result does not become exhausted because that was the initial motivation. It occurs with the initial motivation. So sometimes I say, just as a drop in the ocean does not dry up, so long as the ocean does not dry up, so will the act of enlightenment not become exhausted until the ocean of samsara dries up, because to begin with, that compassionate motivation was aiming at benefiting suffering sentient beings for as long as sentient beings endure, or for as long as sentient beings remain. Right? This is what Shantideva says at the end: for as long as sentient beings endure, for as long as sentient beings remain, for that long will I too remain, in order to dispel the misery of the world. So have you got anything else to add to that? I'm wondering. Anyway, so Graham, why isn't there a pratimoksha vow to avoid violence except in self-defense? I don't know, you have to ask the Buddha. Yeah, I mean, kind of the pratimoksha vows basically are vows for abstaining. Basically, it's abstaining from, mainly by and large, from negative actions of body and mind. Right? Those are the pratimoksha vows. So avoiding violence is part of them. I mean, not only that, when you look at the most basic vow, which is the vow of approaching virtue, the lay vow, then you take up the refuge vow, right? Then once you take the refuge vow, you are given an explanation of the things that you need to avoid and the things that you need to adopt when you go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and they have common training and they have individual training. So when you go for refuge to the Dhamma, you need to abstain from harming others. This is the training that you take up, right? You need to avoid harming others. So in some sense, you can say that you don't need a separate vow because it's already coming at the very basic vow in the Pratimoksha. When you go for refuge to the Dhamma, you need to avoid harming others. What about accepting self-defense? Well, you know, they say that sometimes, even at the cost of your life, in a sense that this is something that will come up in the 6th chapter of this text, when Shantideva is saying that when someone is coming to harm you, you need to cultivate patience, to abstain from harming them back, because it says that, I can't remember the exact wording of the verse, but it says that at best, what they will be slaying is a corpse. You know, in thinking that we're going to die, right? So we're going to die anyway. So if you're going to harm others, kill others, and so forth as an act of self-defense, he says that with an angry motivation, you're creating actions that result in miserable states of existence in the future. So in that sense, you're bringing more harm than just shortening up your lifespan in this lifetime, because it says that at best they will be slaying a corpse. Anyway, we'll get to that when we look at the 6th chapter. So we'll have, I think, another opportunity to discuss that. So
yeah, I was just thinking, what about things like family violence and things like that? I mean, it might help. Not that, I mean, there's not many Buddhists around anyway.
Well, I think that probably, you know, with family violence, domestic violence, and so forth, you know, it's, I think that you need to, you know, taking it as an academic discussion about whether, you know, for example, if you're, you know, if you're a woman and your husband, you know, beats you, or, you know, you're in danger of your life, whether, you know, at the end, you know, do you need to kill them or not to kill them? I think that that's probably just an academic discussion. I think that, you know, looking at the systems that we have in human society to protect people in danger, to be able to, you know, reach out to someone that is experiencing this situation, not only us as individuals, but also the systems, you know, the legal system, the social system that we create around us. You know, they should be protective of, you know, protective of others. So, you know, I think that I wouldn't be, you know, if you ask me, is it all right for a woman, of, like in case of domestic violence, for a woman to kill a husband if she's in danger of her life? You know, I would prefer not to answer that, because it's just an academic.
No, I wasn't really getting at that point. I was sort of getting at if the vow was anti-violence as well as, like, it's mainly killing, which people think, oh, that's an extreme view.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was to minimise in all cases violence in any way, then you know, that might be helpful.
I think that, you know, you know, in terms of self-defense, you know, there are different things that you can do as self-defense. You know, Geshe Jaman was, you know, before, when I was working with him, he said that if someone is harming you and you cannot stop them, just go away, you know, just flee. This is an act of self-defense, you know. Sorry? If you can, yeah, you know, remove yourself from the situation, or find other ways of defending yourself. Of course, you know, again, this is an academic discussion. You know, having skillful means to deal with individual situation is something that we need to develop, or, you know, it's hard to be too academic about it. Anyway, seems like a silly course of action in a precious human rebirth would be better to have a long precious human rebirth.
In other words, rather than just let yourself be killed.
You mean rather than letting yourself be killed? Yeah. Just defend yourself, in not only defend your body, but also defend your mind. Olaf is saying, what about Shaolin monks in the Chen tradition? Actually, I don't know. I don't know what's the philosophy that Shaolin monks have. You know, it's like it's out of at least what I know in this tradition. So probably we need to ask someone, how does it fit with what they do? Anyway, I also wanted to speak a little bit about the benefits of bodhicitta that we've covered today. But actually, before we do that, exams. Let's talk about exams. I will not call them exams. I will call them self-evaluation. Sounds kind of less scary, but there will be an assessment. So what I'm going to do is, as we're going every week, I'm accumulating review questions. So I've some review questions were sent out last week. We will send out review questions tonight. And then based on those review questions, I will pull a few review questions from those 2 weeks, and that will be the basis for the exam, right? So what I'm trying to do is basically to pull out the most important, the self-evaluation, the assessment. So what I will do is, I will try to pull out the most important points from what we've covered, right? So it's the point of this assessment is not to be tricky. It's not to be, sorry? Yeah, it's not to put you down. Maybe, if there are too many people that want to do the exam, maybe I'll do it too difficult to discourage people. No, I'm just joking. Just joking. But no, so the point is that just to see if you got at least the main points in the that we've discussed. Now, some of the points that I included in the review questions, it's hard to answer them. There are questions that are designed to make you think about the material. So as such, some of them are difficult to answer in a precise way, or in absolute, it's not there would be only one correct way of answering them. Whether or not they make it to the exam, I will decide when I'll decide which questions to put in the exam. But anyway, do your best. Also, you have people around you to discuss it. We have discussion groups. So, so can people still have a go at the self-evaluation if they are not registered, just to see what it is like? Possibly, but I'm not going to mark it. I'm not going to spend time on marking exams or reading people's paper if you're not going to be committed to do it. If I am going to spend time, I want you to commit to it, right? So I think that the exam will be available to others, but if you're not registered, then it's just for you, not for me. So, yeah? Just the timing. All right, just the timing. So when do we have to submit it? When do you give us the exam? So I will try to complete the exam by tomorrow or Saturday. So we get review questions tonight? Yeah, review questions tonight. I'll give you the exam, and I'll give you time to do the exam till Thursday. Does it sound fair?
So we're getting review questions tonight, then
Yeah.
an exam on Friday.
Yeah, so the exam will be sent to you at home.
On this
Email.
So the exam is going to be sent to you through the email system. You have to type it, no handwriting. You have to type it on your computer. Take the time to do it.
But when does the exam come? Saturday.
Yeah, probably Saturday, Friday, Saturday. Now, when you do it, try not to look at your notes. Of course, I'm not going to be able to, to see whether you look at your notes or not, but try to be fair. Not try to be fair. Be fair. Study well. Do the exam without looking at your notes, and send it to me by Thursday.
So then people have opportunity Tuesday, Wednesday, in discussion group to review together.
Yeah, so people have opportunity in discussion to discuss some of the questions. Of course, don't ask me about them in expecting that I'll give you the answers.
That sort of seems to defeat Yeah,
The
yeah.
review questions I get, we can discuss.
Yeah.
But the self-assessment questions, I would say, no, if we can't, if it's a closed book exam anyway, why would
All
we
right.
discuss?
Yeah, I get your point. Maybe I'm being too soft, maybe.
Yeah, you should give the questions out on Sunday and expect
Yeah.
them back by Tuesday. That is. Well,
All right, so how about,
Hang on.
sorry, how about I give you the review questions on, I'll give you the review questions. You have 2 days to, we'll send the exam by Sunday evening. And please return it by Friday.
So there's no review questions
Yeah, no, there will be review questions.
before.
Yeah.
Clarification by Friday next week.
Yeah, by Friday next week. All right, sorry, and all the instructions, specific instructions will also, I'll think about them. They will be sent through in the email together with the review questions and the exam. So we'll have instructions on the dates that you have to complete it by. Also, where to send it to, if to send it to me or send it to Kathy, we'll discuss it. So all the instructions would be coming through the emails. It's not going to be too difficult. It's not going to be too complicated. Take it easy. Don't get too stressed. And as I said, it's just kind of pulling out the most important points from what we discussed to make sure that we are still able to hold on to the most important bits. So benefits of bodhicitta. Let's look at that briefly.
Just asking how did I send it to?
There would be instructions. Yeah, instructions. There would be instructions that will come out through the email system. So, okay, benefits of bodhicitta. All right, so.
Oh, I've just written that down.
Sorry?
I've just written that down.
All right, so what I thought of doing is we haven't covered all the verses that explain the benefits of bodhicitta, but it's good to start making a list yourself as for the benefits of bodhicitta. Here, I think Shantideva mentions 7 or 8 benefits of bodhicitta. And also, if you look at Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chenmo in the 3rd volume, when he explains how to maintain the mind of enlightenment, he says that, or how to maintain the trainings in the mind of enlightenment, he explains that you maintain them by thinking of the benefits of the mind of enlightenment. It's a really nice section of text. Again, I didn't mark the page, but I can look at that later. But anyway, in the Lamrim Chenmo, there is a really nice explanation of how you think of the benefits of bodhicitta. I think it gives it in a presentation that is slightly different to Shantideva. It includes points that Shantideva spoke of, but I think that it gives more to work with in terms of what we have in our commentary here, and it's also very inspiring. So also have a look at that. So to begin with, do you remember what the first benefit of bodhicitta was? People at home, people here, what was the first benefit of bodhicitta?
Purifies negative deeds.
Yes, it
that have
purifies.
been committed.
Yeah, so it purifies negative deeds that have been committed. Not only that, it is said that bodhicitta surpasses all other things in terms of purifying negativities, right? Let's look at the root verse. Did I bring the root verses with me? No. So let's look at the commentaries. So the commentary says, and powerful negativity, dreadful. How can this be overcome by other virtue that is not the mind of enlightenment? I should have shared it with you guys. Sorry, I'll put it on the screen. So it says in at least the last 2 lines of verse 6, how can this be overcome by other virtue that is not the mind of enlightenment? So it follows from the previous verse that says that looking at our state of mind, it says that, it seems that this emphasis that is placed on how our mind is packed with negativities, with non-virtues, and only seldom through the might of the Buddha and through merit that we've accumulated before, virtue comes to pass. By the way, so I think that Jane asked yesterday about that through the might of the Buddha or through the blessings of the Buddha, seldom does virtue or merit occur. So I had a look at the unsurpassed continuum, the sublime continuum by Maitreya. So in verses 26, 27, as far as I remember, there is a reference to the Dhammakaya emanating enlightened activities that engage our mind. So in those two verses from Maitreya's unsurpassed continuum, he gives a proof, the proofs that all of us have Buddha nature. And the first proof that all of us have Buddha nature is that the Dhammakaya of the Buddha is emanating enlightened activities that enter, that engage our mind streams. In that sense, I think that we've said before, and Jampa, maybe you remember some of those points. If you have something to add to that, please do. So we said before that every virtue in a mind stream can be considered an enlightened activity of the Buddha, because the Dhammakaya is emanating those enlightened activities that engage a mind stream. So, it's, I think, offers a radical way of looking at virtue state of mind. In that sense, it's like through the inspiration of the Buddha, through the might of the Buddha, through the blessings of the Buddha, we experience those virtues. It's quite, I think that sometimes it's quite confronting, because then you might wonder, do I have free will? Is it that me is generating virtuous state of mind, or is it just coming through the force of the Buddha? Anyway, it gives you something to think about. Jampa, have you got anything to add, if you're here? Maybe it's not here anymore. So Jampa is writing something. Not now. Is having a look. All right. So bodhicitta has the benefit of purifying negative action. So first of all, how do you purify negativities? What do you need to have in order to purify negativities? The four opponent powers. That's correct. So within the four opponent powers, you use the power of the basis. That's to begin with. Then normally the power of the basis is explained to be refuge and bodhicitta. Now, when including bodhicitta as a power of the basis, we think that when we perform a negative action, we can perform it in relation to two things. Either it was negative with respect to other sentient beings, which means that we have harmed sentient beings, or it could be that we have made a negativity with respect to the three jewels, right? So if the negativity was done with respect to the three jewels, then the power of support is refuge. If the negativity was done with respect to other sentient beings, then the power of the basis is bodhicitta. I mean, normally you can combine actually the two. It's not that you have to choose only one. So you can have refuge and bodhicitta as the power of support. So you could say that bodhicitta is aiming at attaining the state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. And as Geshe said in the morning, it encompasses, it includes all sentient beings, and therefore it's vast and extensive. So because it is vast and extensive, you can say that it is more powerful in the application of the four powers of the antidote than motivations that focus on limited number of beings. Right? If you include all sentient beings within the power of your purification would be deeper. Maybe that's one way that you can look at that. But looking at also Khenpo Kumpen's presentation, he says, he presents this line of reason. It says that it has a stronger power to destroy negativities. The reason, first of all, he links it up with the next verse. It has the power to destroy great negativities, or great power to destroy negativities, because it has the potential to accomplish supreme bliss. Because bodhicitta has the power to lead you to the state of Buddhahood, then it has the power to eliminate great negativities. right? So this is a link that Khenpo Kumpel is making. Then we also say that because it purifies actions done before as parts of the 4 powers. Then also in Khenpo Kumpel's presentation, it says that because it disrupts the continuity of negative actions in the future. So again, I will link it up with the power of the 4 powers of the antidote. So in the 4 powers of the antidote, you have the power of basis. You include bodhicitta within that, right? You have the power of regret, in which you recognize a negativity for being a negativity, and you develop strong regret for that. And then the next power is the power of restraint. So the power of restraint is when you kind of say that I shall know it was negative, I shall not do it again in the future. So bodhicitta is aiming at benefiting all other sentient beings. You know, it is aiming at attaining the state of enlightenment, but the motivation for bodhicitta is great compassion, which wishes to protect all sentient beings. So if you wish to protect all sentient beings, within that, there is that commitment not to harm them. So it disrupts the continuity of negative actions.
Start video.
Right, so it disrupts the continuity of negative actions that will be done in the future. So that's another reason. Let's look at one more. Because then Khenpo Kumpel says that it outshines the afflictions in your own mind. So when you develop bodhicitta, it has the power to outshine other afflictions in your own mind. So when we think about it, it will probably has the power to reduce anger and hatred, a sense of jealousy, pride over others, and so forth. So it surpasses others in its ability to destroy negativities. It seems that the implication is because it reduces the power of your own afflictions.
Through meditation.
Well, yeah, through meditation. I think that here when we speak of the benefits of bodhicitta, I think that what Shantideva is getting at is not only just to generate bodhicitta as a one-off thing. I think that in many explanations, we refer to uncontrived bodhicitta.
Yes.
You know, so you've meditated on bodhicitta for so long that it becomes like a second nature, an uncontrived state of mind. So that, yeah, through continuous meditation on bodhicitta, your afflictions will diminish. And when your afflictions diminish, you will overcome more negativities.
And it outshines, I like that, it outshines the afflictions.
Yeah.
And you have more of a positive state of mind, a blissful state of mind.
Well, in Chandakirti's supplement to the Middle Way, he presents the different perfections according to the different grounds. So it says that when a bodhisattva attains the first ground, they outshine solitary realizers and hearers from the point of view of wisdom, there's one thing that kind of suddenly I blacked up with respect to what it says. Sorry, I have to look at that again, but it says that the bodhisattvas outshine hearers and solitary realizers from the point of view of lineage. So from the point of view of lineage, it says that because bodhisattvas has that intention to be of benefit to other sentient beings, not only does Arya bodhisattvas outshine hearers and solitary from the point of lineage, even ordinary bodhisattvas that have just generated the path of accumulation, which means that have just entered the path of accumulation with an uncontrived bodhicitta, they outshine hearers and solitary realizer arhats from the point of view of lineage, and that they have the great ability, great capacity. You know, so this outshining means that kind of they have greater ability, to, I guess, purify negativities, cultivate virtue, be of beneficial to others, and so forth. So let's look at just one more benefit, and then we'll leave it here for now. So then they have the potential to accomplish supreme bliss. So I'm combining it with Khenpo Kumpal's presentation, but I changed a little bit of the order of the explanation, but I think that it can still be brought together in that way. So remember that we said that to accomplish supreme bliss would be to accomplish the supreme bliss of the state of Buddha, to become a Buddha yourself. So obviously bodhicitta gives you the potential to become Buddha because it develops even the most subtle roots of virtue. So even the most subtle roots of virtue in your mind stream will be developed through the force of bodhicitta. And because it leads the practitioner ultimately to Buddhahood, and it causes them to easily attain that state. I find it word easily to be a bit confusing. I mean, we said that, the Buddha, first of all, today is Vesak, right? It's actually quite nice. So the Buddha has developed bodhicitta, then accumulated the collections over 3 great countless eons, and then at the end of 3 great countless eons, the Buddha attained the state of enlightenment. It doesn't sound like easy, does it?
Awkward.
Sorry?
Awkward.
Awkward. Yeah,
Quick,
so...
quick. Or quick.
Or quick, sorry, or quick. Yeah, it doesn't sound quick. So the commentaries, both the commentaries says that it will easily give you the state of enlightenment, but it doesn't seem to be easy at all to me. But I guess that you can say that comparatively, you know, if you don't have bodhicitta, you'll have no chance of becoming Buddha. You know, so if you think, for example, I want to become Buddha for my own sake alone, you don't think of for the sake of others, which means that you don't have fully developed bodhicitta that has the 2 aspirations. If you think I want to attain it just for myself, you will not become Buddha. If you have fully developed bodhicitta with the 2 aspirations, you will easily become Buddha after 3 great countless eons. Anyway, I'm wondering if you guys at home have any questions. All right, we have to, we have to finish now because we have puja. We have medicine guru puja. Is it going to be transmitted on? So I'm going to finish this session in a second. We're just going to do dedication prayers. For those of you who want to stay around for medicine Buddha puja, please, we'll start off the other computer in a couple of minutes after we finish those prayers. So please connect again in a few minutes. So I'll put on the screen the prayers, and thank you very much for joining. What are the prayers? That's a good question. Maybe they're here. Just a second. Yeah. Sorry. I'm a bit slow. Dedication, okay. Inyo da lama sangi dugene do achikama pate salago pasho sanchorin poche makepana kegyoche kyabanyam pame pa gone gondo pawacho kowe shinkam di pendande wa malu jungwene chenre si wante zingya tsoi shape site badu tengyu tu chanchin jangun yawe ten zing kyon pe we kunzo do po se cho son ko we le mon tu do pa da so ku se kondu shabten shu. All right, thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to finish this session. So again, if you want to join the medicine Buddha puja, do it in a couple of minutes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So Geshe-la is teaching tonight at 6:30. He's going to give general teachings. I think that he's probably going to continue his presentation of the 4 truths. And tomorrow, he's going to continue with Lama Tsongkhapa's explanation on the steps of the path to enlightenment. So come along. It's going to be fun. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.